if I catch myself in the mirror, I look at myself and I'm like, hey, you got going on, you know?
Yes.
And I think downplaying that will hinder performance overall, whether it be in golf performance, sales performance, or improv performance.
Hello, Warners. Welcome to Women Your Mother Warned You About,
the podcast that makes sales sexy again. I'm Rachel Tipton, mom, realtor, and creator of The Closing Curve.
And I'm Gina Tremarco, founder and sales trainer at Pivot 10 Results and Carolina Improv. And let's hear from the man behind the microphone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Keith Walters, and I am on a quest to build great companies.
Awesome. Nice. Hey, everybody. How are both of you doing?
Fabulous, fabulous.
Incredible.
Fabulous and incredible. I like that. I'm doing pretty fabulous and incredible myself, all things considered. Coming off some crazy stuff, moving and surgeries and whatnot.
We need to do an episode on moving and surgeries because both you and I have stories on that. That would be a whole episode in itself.
I think we're actually going to have an episode on that real soon. Well, we should talk about how do you get back to business after you've gone through crazy stuff.
Great idea.
Good idea. So let's talk about today. So today, the day of this recording, by the way, is International Women's Day. So when you hear this, it will no longer be International Women's Day, but we happen to be recording on International Women's Day, which is pretty fitting because we just got done interviewing a really dynamic, cool woman, Paige Spiranac, a golf pro and anti-bullying advocate. Paige is a rising golf talent, media personality, and online influencer who's on a mission to show how much fun golf can be while making a positive impact on the world.
And a few more things about Paige. Paige is no stranger to being bullied and body shamed based on how she looks, which makes her intensely passionate about doing her part to stop bullying, especially cyberbullying and online hate. She's an official ambassador for the Cybersmile Foundation and often speaks out about her many experiences of being bullied throughout her childhood, college, and golf career. She also focuses on encouraging women to be themselves and fight for what they believe and to embrace their true calling in life. Through hosting events and clinics, supporting other incredible young women, and posting inspirational messages, Paige hopes to help women not only discover the game of golf, but to also feel empowered to achieve their wildest dreams.
Wow, it was a pretty cool interview. What did you guys think?
Yeah, she's amazing. And what the biggest takeaway for me is it's just so shocking to hear that women have a hard time sometimes supporting a woman who's excelling in life and business just because she's actually beautiful. And like, what is that? It just kills me. I can't even understand it, but it's true.
One of the things we talk a lot about on here is owning who you are, and I really like how Paige owns who she is, embraces that, and uses that in this struggle that she talks about.
It's a pretty awesome episode, pretty awesome show. She's pretty cool. And before we dive into that and we have everybody listen to that, want to share another review that we received via private message this time, which we do get a lot of private message reviews, which is really cool because talk about, being uplifted in this episode with Paige. We talk about compliments. And I think every time Rachel, you and I get a message, it's another compliment that lifts us because we're lifting others. So this one comes from Laura M. And she says, thanks for the info on the Dagny Dover bag, which, yep. Thanks for the info on the Dagny Dover bag. Absolute perfect for sales women pounding the pavement, such as myself. Caught your podcast tonight after a tough day and tougher weeks to come. Just wanted to say thanks. Easy to doubt career choices. Always feel better after listening to your podcast. Thanks for making a difference. Ugh. I love those messages because we're on a message to make a difference and lift women up.
So awesome. That was a great one. And Warners, if you haven't given us a review yet, please go to our iTunes, 5 stars is our favorite. And if you leave something fun, we can read it on upcoming episodes, as Gina just shared Laura M's message. And we really appreciate those messages, as she mentioned. You can access our iTunes page from our website, womenyourmotherwarnedyouabout.com.
Paige spoke a lot about compliments, and this is a great opportunity for people to practice that complimenting exercise.
Amen.
Yes, we practice your complimenting. All right, let's head on over to this episode of Women Your Mother Warned You About. Hey, Paige, welcome to Women Your Mother Warned You About. I know I speak for all of us when I say how excited we are to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be a part of this. Thank you so much for having me.
So we're calling this episode Beauty, Bullying, and Business. And bullying is a topic that comes up a lot. And we know that's a platform for you. And we thought that was really cool. We know that it's something that you're really familiar with. And so that we thought this would be a great topic for today, especially in business. And what we hope our listeners are going to glean from this episode is your insights and experiences with overcoming bullying in business and how it applies to beauty and how you look. Does that sound good for you today?
Yeah, that's perfect. So excited to talk about all of that.
I know Rachel and I, we ate up all the links that were sent to us to read the articles about you. And is it okay to call you a ballsy broad? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, definitely okay.
I thought you'd be okay with that because everything I read, you were so strong in how you feel and you don't hold back. Rachel, wouldn't you say the same?
Agree. I was really impressed with all of the articles on you. And I have to say that I remember I am a terrible golfer, I will say. But I do enjoy the game. And I remember seeing your picture on the front of the Golf Digest. And I was like, dang, look at her. She is look how beautiful she is. And when I read some of those articles where people are giving you a hard time about how you look, I was shocked because I think that, as you know, it's such a the world of golf is really a man's world in a lot of ways. And to see a woman, especially a beautiful woman, in the game of golf, like, how can that be bad? I just don't even see it, but I know that you have experience with that, the challenges.
Yeah, it's definitely been a difficult journey, I'll say. I've been bullied pretty much my entire life, and I've always just been different, a little unique, a little weird, just myself. I've always watched the beat of my own drum. I've always been like that. And so I've always kind of dealt with just being an outsider, never feeling like I belong. And I've really noticed a big change with cyberbullying. So I'm an ambassador for Cybersmile, which is an anti-bullying organization. And it's just the impact that social media has. It's very positive and I love it, but there can also be a really dark side to it. And that's the cyberbullying, the harassment, the death threats, and gosh, I could go on and on about what I face every single day just because of what I look like or how I choose to do something. And golf is a very male-dominated, it's even everything that has to do. It's just, again, just feel like an outsider all the time. And most people don't like the way that I dress because it's not traditional, and golf's a very traditional sport, very conservative sport. And so I've always gotten a lot of hate. And it's taken probably so I've been doing this for about almost 4 years now, coming up on the 4-year mark. And it's the last 2 years, I would say, where I started to kind of come into my own and feel comfortable with who I am, and that you can be strong and smart and successful, but you can also be sexy if that's what you want. And I like what I wear. I like the person I am. And I just try to show that every single day that you can be who you want to be. And that's totally okay. Like, it's totally fine. And I'm not trying to persuade young girls to wear what I wear, look the way I look. My message has always been the same. And it's always been be who you want to be. And I think that's very important because you always have to fit a certain mold. And I'm not just bullied by men in the industry. I'm also bullied by women in the industry. saying that they'll never take me seriously because of what I wear or what I look like. And yeah, that could be an easy change, and I could cover up more, or I could, not post what I do, but that's who I am. That's what I like to do. And that's how I'm running my business, right or wrong. That's the path I've chosen, and I'm sticking to it. And I think that's a really great message for a lot of people to be like, you don't have to do one thing one certain way. You can do it any way you want to do it. And I think you'll be a lot happier in the long run if you just stick to being who you want to be instead of having other people dictate how you want to live your life.
Paige, how did you come to a place of such confidence in all of this? Because I have read the articles that you were bullied from an early age, and that can really wear on especially girls. I know that Rachel has dealt with this with her daughter being bullied. How did you get to a place of just saying, screw it, you know what, this is who I am, you don't like it, too bad, and I'm gonna do it big? How'd you get there?
Again, it's taken a while. I think the first year where I was trying to play professionally at the time, and I was getting so much criticism because I was getting notoriety and fame without having the results of playing great golf. And people didn't see that I had a career outside of golf, which was media. And so they were kind of grouping me together and doing different things, and they didn't understand like what I was doing. And so I actually started to change what I was doing. I started to, kind of cover up a little bit more. I wasn't being outspoken. I was doing everything by the book that I thought, like, if I do it this way, no one's going to say anything. Well, I posted a picture in a turtleneck, and a guy called me a slut. Another person called me a whore. And I'm okay. I literally can't, I am, the only thing showing was my face. I was wearing pants and a turtleneck, and I was smiling, and they were talking about my body. And I was like, okay, well, I can't win. No matter what I do, I'm not going to win. So why am I trying to please all these other people when I can just be myself? And I might appear very confident, but there are definitely days where the comments do get to me, or I'm feeling a little bit self-conscious, but I always try to just kind of push through it and say like, okay, I'm going to do what I want to do, and it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, like, it doesn't matter. I'm never going to see these people in real life. And if I do see them in real life, they're not going to say that to my face. They're going to be nice to me. So, like, it doesn't matter. And the only thing that does matter is how the people in my inner circle, my close friends, view me. And my parents love me. My friends are great. Like, they respect me. And that's what matters, not what these random people are saying about me that have never met me. So I always just try to focus on that and think a little bit smaller instead of like big picture, like, oh my gosh, all these people hate me. They don't like what I'm doing. They're calling me all these names. Like, I know I'm not a whore. Like, I know what I wear doesn't determine the person that I am on the inside. Like, I know that. So I need to focus on that, not that this person's calling me names. And I think that's really helped. And it has taken a long time to get to that point. I also think being very vulnerable in the public eye has helped a lot. It's kind of just been like a therapy session. And so, like, I talk about my anxiety and my depression. I've talked about cyberbullying. I've talked about my body insecurities. Like, I've literally been an open book the entire time. And it's like, take it or leave it. This is the person I am. But I think it's been very helpful for other people as well who have been on this journey with me. And they're like, she's a real person. I think sometimes on social media, since there is such a big disconnect, you don't see that person as a real human being. You just see them as this character or this personality. You don't really treat them as like a real person. And I think that since I've been so open and honest, that people, they know that I'm vulnerable and they know that I have feelings. And so I think a lot of people have, I've had a lot of negativity, but I've also had way more positive comments and messages, and people saying like, oh, thank you so much for opening up about anxiety. Like, that's something that I deal with. And we've kind of opened this conversation with so many different people. And like, that's why I do what I do. And that's what, keeps me going. And that's what keeps me motivated and confident, is to help all these other people who may not have a voice or that need help or are too scared to talk about it. But since I was vulnerable, they could talk to me about it. So it's just focusing on the positives and not so much on like what random person said about me like 2 days ago. That doesn't matter. So it's always just trying to focus on the good.
Well, one thing on the good is having been a little bit of a golfer, I know that there's not that many great options of women who I want to look cute when I'm on the golf course. So when I see you dressed cute, I'm the opposite person. I'm like, oh my gosh, look how cute that is. I want to look cute like that. So there are some people out there that are looking positively at you, just so you know, there really are. There's like, I'm looking at it going, I want to look like that when I'm golfing because she looks amazing. But it's unbelievable to think that you would, that thing about the turtleneck just took my breath away. Like, how do people, not to mention that you get where you get in golf because of your score, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a top player in the world, but I am better than 99.9999% of the people in the world. And I don't think people realize that. I had a full ride scholarship to play Division I college golf. I won a professional tournament. I have achieved a lot at a really high level, and people don't ever really want to talk about that. They always want to talk about, that I haven't won a major or I'm not ranked in the top 100 in the world. And that's fine because I'm not doing that anymore. I've kind of put professional golf on a hold right now so I could get healthy mentally again because it was such a grind for me and it wasn't fun and I didn't love to do it. And so I'm just taking a break and doing more of the social media and digital media, and that's way more fun because I've noticed that golf isn't very welcoming and it's not very inclusive, especially to women or people who just don't fit the mold of a golfer or what you think a golfer is. And so that's something that I've been really trying to do. And a lot of people, golf is also really expensive. So when we talk about fashion, I love fashion and I love bringing a little different style to golf because golf clothes are expensive. And when I first started playing, my parents didn't have the money to buy like new golf shoes and a new golf polo and new golf shorts. So I had to find things in my closet that I could wear to go play golf. And most of the time it was just like workout clothes. And I still do that now because I realize like a lot of people, especially like women, they don't want to go out and buy a whole new golf outfit, but you can find things in your closet. So it's just kind of like changing that norm, what you think you can wear and what you should wear. And so it's really fun. I love what I do, but it can definitely be difficult.
Well, I'm one for cute outfits.
Amen.
And I read what you wrote an article about the LPGA and their new code and their new dress code. And then I was curious and I went to look up the PGA's dress code, which is pretty short and vague. Like, must be professional looking. It was like such a short, vague description. And then the newest one with LPGA with like literally it was like a list of rules of like you don't do this and you can't do that and don't do that and don't wear anything low cut and you can't wear leggings. And I've always wondered in tennis and in golf, I get there's shorts under that skirt and I don't play golf only because it just never works out for me to go learn. But I would never... Those skirts are short, so no matter what, when you're bending over, I would think that, I don't know, what's it matter if you wear leggings? I know that was a ruling that you can't wear leggings unless it's under a skirt.
Yeah.
It seems like it's really, really limiting because I know, as I said, I've played a little bit of golf and usually the clubhouse is filled with men. Sometimes when I've been there, there's been maybe one other woman or maybe a foursome who's kind of keeping to themselves. And I mean, I'm a pretty confident woman and, I get the looks, I get the comments, I get the feeling of condescension and the feeling of being out of place just because it's a man's world. So it's a hard enough world for women to walk into and feel comfortable already, the world of golf. So putting all those limitations on it seems like it would make women feel even more unwelcome. And it's interesting that the LPGA would put out those kind of restrictions.
100%. And I don't think we can always blame it just on the guys. I think women are equally at fault here, especially when it comes to the dress code. It was made basically from like a group of players who decided like this is how everyone should dress. And my biggest problem wasn't that it's a dress code. Like they can do whatever they want. That's fine. But it's when they were saying like, you can't have a low cut top. Well, a low cut top, like what does that even mean? Or they said your skirt can't be short enough to see your shorts when you bend over. Well, like skirts on me look very different than say on my sister. She's 5'10", and same with like a low cut shirt. Like if you have a bigger chest, it's going to look different on you. So it's almost like body shaming in a way when they're saying like, well, you can't wear that skirt because it's too short. But it's the same skirt, like what I wear is the same as another woman, but just because someone looks a little bit different in it, then she's shamed. Like that's not okay. Like that's where I had a big problem with the dress code, just the way that it was written, and it wasn't positive towards women's bodies. And where they always say like, well, we don't want athletes to be objectified. That's what you're doing. You know, like when I put something on, I'm wearing something because it's very comfortable. I can move in it. I can swing in it. And to me, the most comfortable thing that I can wear are leggings. Like we go work out in leggings. Yeah. Like that's right. The most comfortable thing. So you would think that would help us become better athletes. But you're saying that doesn't look professional or that's showing too much of our body. That's them objectifying us. So it's just very weird. I think since golf is very traditional and conservative, people want us to look professional or they want golfers to look professional. But what does that even mean? You know, and I think that's very confusing. And some of the rules that they made were, it just didn't make sense to me. And like, if we were trying to be professional, then why didn't they say, oh, your shirt has to be tucked in? Well, because that's not comfortable for some women. So, okay, we won't do that. But you can't wear like, I can go on and on and on. I just start rambling about it because I just get so frustrated about it because it makes so much sense in my mind. And I don't understand how it doesn't make sense to other people. You know, like we're athletes, we should be able to show our bodies off. We're proud of all the work and the dieting and everything that we do to become top level athletes. And we don't get to show that off. Like it's always turned into a negative, and that's not fair.
Who do you think is driving the change to more restriction in the LPGA? Do you think it's women or men?
Both. I think it's both. I would say women for the LPGA, since I know a lot of they have like the governing body that makes up the rules are mostly women. And like I was saying earlier, I do get a lot of criticism, especially from girls on the LPGA about like what I wear. Like one girl told me that they don't need to show skin to sell tickets, saying that I have to sell my body to get anywhere in life. And so, you know, I don't think they get it yet. And it's really sad to see, and it's really frustrating because to me, golf or sports, it's supposed to be entertainment, and people want to watch because they're entertained. And I think sometimes when it comes to all female sports, since we're always driving to be taken seriously and to get the same as men, that sometimes we're so focused on just our skill, but you need to have something to sell a product as well. And that doesn't have to be showing your body off, but it could be having a personality or like different things that they could be doing, or, you know, making it a little more fun. And I don't think they see that. They just want to be taken seriously for their skill, and they don't realize that like it has to be entertaining as well.
I think that's a really good point. Not everyone is going to be the best at what they do, or be the best golfer, or be the best salesperson, or be the best whatever. But if there was only one person playing a sport, then what's the fun of it? So someone's got to be not the best, and you still need to have some aspect of fun and entertainment and intrigue and engagement that's going to keep people interested. And I think seeing someone like you who is going to go out there and be a golfer and be beautiful, I would think that would potentially attract more women to come to the sport, because the sport is an intimidating sport. And the few times that I have gone to a course to learn how to hit some balls, which I have gone to learn several times, I've been kind of like turned off and didn't really want to go back.
Yeah, there's so many things that are wrong, and I don't think it's just people in golf. I think that it's just problems that we're having in society right now, where there's kind of that push and pull of, should a woman be covered up to be respected? Can a woman be in a bikini and be respected? Like, no one really knows. And I think we're all kind of confused. And especially as women too, like, you have the feminists that believe in one thing, and then you have another one that believes in something else. And I think we all just need to kind of come together and say, like, okay, we're all different, which is fine. That's great. We should be different, but we can all come together, work together, and empower each other. And I think would be a lot more successful. I think we are just a little bit too either jealous or catty of one another, and we're always compared to each other and say, like, oh, she's prettier, or she's smarter, or she's better. You need to be more like her. You need to be more like this. And we're never celebrated for our individuality. And I think it's because we do that to ourselves. Like, if you think about it, when a beautiful woman walks by, you feel a little bit intimidated or insecure, or you say, oh, that outfit looks terrible on her, which it doesn't. You know it doesn't, but you're just saying that to your friends to make yourself feel better. Or if you're in class and, you know, there's a very smart woman and she says something, you're like, well, I'm sure she, I don't know, well, she's not very pretty, so that's fine. Like, there's always those digs. Or if a woman is successful, it's always like, oh, I bet she slept her way to the top. There's always like a but this or a but that. We never just say, wow, that she is inspirational, she's beautiful, she's smart, like, go her, like, good for her. And I think that's a problem that we have to fix with each other. And I think that then we can move forward and actually make some change for good.
Yeah, and starting with our own selves and understanding that, and I just had this conversation with my daughter and her friend yesterday about, you know, there's a little girl that's been constantly telling my daughter that she's fat. And so I'm battling against that with her in the way of saying, you know, the first thing to know is that if a girl or a woman says something negative about another woman, whether it's, oh, look at her, she thinks she's so pretty, or oh, look at her, she's fat, or oh, look at her outfit, she doesn't know how to take care of herself, or whatever the negative thing that the female says about the other female, it always has to do with the person who's saying the negative comment, their own insecurity about themselves. And so when we can say, oh, it's really, you know, it's too bad that person doesn't feel good about themselves, that they want to tear me down. When we can do that confidently for ourselves, then we're doing okay. But the fact of the matter is, it's a lot easier for our demons to take over and go, oh my God, she called me fat, I must be fat. Oh my God. You know, it's so hard. And it would be so wonderful if we could all teach our children to be empathetic and be confident and be like, okay, that girl probably doesn't feel good about herself, and that's why she's calling me fat, because I know I'm not fat. But it's just harder than just saying that. You know, it goes way deeper.
Paige, what's your advice or suggestions, especially in this girl on girl hate stuff that happens? And I want to talk a little bit about how this shows up in business too. Do you have suggestions for how do you overcome it? How do you overcome the girl on girl hate?
If someone usually says something negative to me, I'll usually try to deflect and return, make fun of me as well. So I never make it combative or escalate the situation. And then privately, I'll talk to that person and be like, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Because like we were saying, usually stems from their own insecurities or something that they're dealing with or something that someone said to them. And so I always try to reach out to them and make sure that they're doing okay, because sometimes they just need to talk to someone, and that's their lashing out. I also think too, we all need to be better when we're in our group of friends. The one way that we bond is by gossiping or being negative about someone else. And I think we need to stop that. So like when you're with your group of friends, don't talk badly about another female, or, you know, don't say something just to be funny or use it as like a bonding experience. Like really internalize like what you're saying, why you're saying it. And would you say that in front of that person if she was sitting there? If you're saying no, then don't say it out loud. You know, I think we just all need to like be more kind to each other. And like I was saying earlier, like we're always compared to one another. And so that makes us insecure, and our ways to lash out is by bringing that person down and, try to prey on their insecurities. So don't do that. Instead, say, oh my gosh, if you think that person is in better shape than you, or it's better hair, or you like their makeup, ask them. Like, oh my gosh, I love your lipstick. Where did you get it? Or your hair is beautiful. What do you do? Like, make someone feel good, because you're going to feel better about yourself too. And you might learn something. You might get some helpful tips out of it. So don't always try to bring someone down. Instead, reach out, say something kind to one another. Don't gossip. And if someone is being mean to you, talk to them directly and ask how they're doing. Reach out and, just make sure that they're doing okay, and that they know that you're there for them when they're going through something.
So good. I think it deserves emphasis to repeat what you said, that if you don't think that you could say directly to someone's face what you're saying about them in your group of friends, you shouldn't be saying it, because that's amazing.
That's really awesome. And we were talking before you came on, Paige, we were talking about just self-awareness in general. I've definitely have been a guilty party of going, what is she wearing? Look at, like, in my mind, not out loud, but in my mind. And I've learned how to catch myself. No, I have not said that loud. Keith is making faces at me. But I've caught myself, and that also I think comes with maturity of, I'm like, why would I do that? This is my insecurity for me to make that comment. And if we can become more self-aware of that, we're going to become kinder people.
Oh, 100%. And the reason I know that we do that is because I say it myself, and I have said it out loud. I feel bad about what I've said about someone. Or if I see someone on Instagram who's beautiful, first reaction is like, oh, I bet she photoshops herself. Or like, I say that stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I shouldn't be saying that, and I shouldn't be doing that. And I catch myself all the time. We all do. And we'd be lying if we said that we didn't. It's kind of what we've been bred to do. I mean, that's just how it is. Like, I know when I'm talking to my mom or someone, we'll be talking about, like, I don't know, a celebrity in the news. And we will say stuff and we don't even think that it's mean. But if you really think about it, I'm like, oh gosh, if someone said that about me, I would be upset about it. So we really try to, like, work on what we're saying, be more kind. It's going to take time, I think, for all of us. We're definitely going to slip up. But I think if you know that you're slipping up, or you know that you're saying something and you catch yourself, that's good too. Like, that's positive. That's positive change. And it's fine to, like, you just have to be self-aware of, like, what you're doing and how it could hurt people, and also changing as well.
And also how it can build people up, because I love to tell beautiful women that they look beautiful, even if I don't know who they are, just because I think, as you have seen, you're a very beautiful woman, but yet you're catching all this backlash for accentuating the positive. And I think beautiful women sometimes, you can be confident, but you can also know that there's women in the room judging you because you have put yourself together well. And it's a little bit dangerous when we do it, because, like you said, we all have done it, and we all do it sometimes. We don't even realize it, like, oh my God, she must think she's all that. But when you say that to any other woman, then they know that you're capable of saying something negative about them when they're not around.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so it's a habit. So I try to make a habit, and I, of course, am not 100% successful, of being somebody that builds people up, because then it builds me up to build others up. And it's a way better habit, but not an easy one, of course, because we're all human.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you feel so much better if someone comes up to me or even leaves me a message and they're like, oh, I loved your outfit today. It makes me feel so good, and so I try to give back that feeling to someone else. So like I said, just going up to someone random and being like, oh my gosh, you look amazing in that dress. And you could make their day, because you don't know what people are dealing with every day behind closed doors. And so such a small comment can make a huge difference, but it's a vicious cycle. I mean, you would think that once we get older, we'd become more self-aware and we wouldn't be bitter or hate each other, but that doesn't change. We're I've noticed that doesn't matter what age you are, women will still do the same thing or say the same thing as they do when they were in middle school or high school or college, or, it doesn't matter. So I think just if you make an effort, and I think if you're with your group of friends and you're not participating in the conversations, or if you're trying to spin it and be positive, they're going to realize like, oh, this isn't that much fun. Like, I don't feel so good, saying those things. And so just like doing one small thing will make a huge difference. I think it will kind of trickle down in your group of friends too. And they'll see that like being a good person is actually much better than gossiping about other people.
Well, I'm definitely one who will go up to random women that I don't know and tell them like, oh, you look amazing in that dress, or I love those boots. Just to exactly what you're saying, Paige, is to lift somebody else up and help make their day. Or I really want to know where they got the dress and I want to get it myself.
Yes.
So, Paige, just put yourself in a situation where you're going into let's say a retail situation or just making a purchase, and you run into a saleswoman who is dressed really, really well, or you're dealing with even a person in business that's very, that they're highlighting their physical attributes. How does that strike you?
I think at first when you see someone who is put together, it's intimidating at first because you're like, oh my gosh, they look so great. They must be so confident. And then in your head, you're kind of building up this, like, they must have a perfect life with a perfect spouse or significant other, and they, great kids and a great life. And they probably live in this perfect house. And then you kind of build it up and think that, oh my gosh, their life is perfect. My life is terrible. I look bad. Like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing with myself? And then you realize like, oh, they're just another person and they're just trying to live. And they're probably looking at you thinking the exact same thing. And they're probably like freaking out themselves. And so if you just kind of ease the tension and be like, oh my gosh, I love what you're wearing, give them a compliment, start talking. You don't get that intimidation feel. You just kind of break the ice. You're nice and realize too that they're probably thinking the exact same thing you're thinking. They're probably nervous about what they're saying, or they're probably, they don't want to seem like they're being, I don't know. I think we're always just so worried about what everyone else is thinking, and they're thinking the exact same thing. So I think you just have to realize that and then progress from there.
I think most people are worried about themselves and not really worried so much about you. And we put so much pressure on ourselves and what people think of us. I want to ask you a question, Paige, and there's a couple stories attached to this. So first, I'll put the question out of how women can get people to recognize their talents beyond their physical attributes. And I ask this question because I own an improv comedy theater and I have a performer in the theater. I hope she doesn't mind me talking about this. I don't think she listens to this show, but she's a really beautiful young blonde girl. She's really just so attractive. But and I've known her since she was 17 and now she's 27, and she has downplayed her beauty in the last few years, where she'll show up without makeup, she'll show up with her hair disheveled, she'll show up not dressed appropriately to be getting on stage to do an improv show. She is coming in leggings and whatnot. So I had to literally have a talk with her and say, why are you showing up like this? And she got upset, and she kind of came back to me with, and it was a really good eye-opening for me as well, is she was so concerned about being judged for her looks and her beauty that she purposely was starting to downplay herself because she didn't want people to think she didn't have talent as a improv comedy performer. And so she would purposely come in looking like she just rolled out of bed. And I finally had to say that this has got to stop. You have to take advantage of the fact that you're beautiful and talented. But how does a beautiful person, a beautiful woman, get people to recognize the talent and look past the beauty? I know it's a really long question.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you so much for keep saying that I'm beautiful, and that is very kind of you to say. I think it would be a disservice to myself and my career to downplay what I look like. People are going to judge me, and that's fine, but they're not the type of people I really want following me anyways. If they're going to think that I am a bimbo because of what I wear, then that's their problem. That's not my problem. I'm confident enough in myself to know that I can wear a low-cut top if I want to, but I'm also smart. And I also know what I'm doing. And I'm also confident. And no matter what I wear, that's not going to change. My morals are not going to change. Nothing about me is going to change. I'm wearing a different shirt. And it's weird that people don't realize that. And I know people aren't going to take me seriously, and that's okay. Like, that is totally fine. But I like the way I look. I'm proud of the person I am. And I think if people can see me for me, just the way I look doesn't matter anymore. They're going to see the beauty inside. And I think that's more important. They're going to see that I have something to say, that I'm outspoken on certain issues, that I am smart, that I am running a successful business at the age of 25. You know, there's all these other things to me, and people see that. And I know they see that. And I will never want to downplay who I want to be for someone else. I'm not going to let someone else make me feel bad about myself to the point where I'm going to show up and not be all of Paige. I think there's a time and a place to wear certain things, so I would never show up to a business meeting in a little like skin tight dress, you know, like going out hair and makeup. I do think there's certain times that you do need to look and act professional, because that's just the way the world is right now, and that's the way it works. I hope it's not like that, because just because you're wearing a suit doesn't make you a good person, and just because I wear a dress doesn't make me a certain type of person. And I think people need to realize that, but they don't. And I think if I continue to keep doing what I'm doing, and I show that you can be sexy and you can do all these other things, but you can also be, you know, smart and confident and successful, it's going to change over time. I think it is slowly changing. And I feel so bad for women who feel like they have to downplay what they look like. And I also know some of my friends who have been in relationships where the other person is like, well, maybe you shouldn't wear makeup because I don't want other people looking at you, or making them feel bad. And that should never be the case. Like, you want to look your best all the time. You want to feel your most confident. So be that person. Like, show up and how you feel good. I'm a very introverted person. I'm actually fairly shy. And for me, I have to feel confident in social settings to be able to speak to other people. And one way I feel confident is when I feel like I look good. And I want to wear what I want to wear because I know it's going to make me more confident and more successful. And so people need to realize that. I think if you start to downplay, you're not going to be as confident because you're so worried about what other people are thinking of you and what you look like. And it doesn't matter. Like I said in the very beginning, it really doesn't matter. Are you happy with the person you are? The answer is yes. Keep doing you. If you're not happy with the person you are, then make some changes. But it should never depend on what other people think about you. It should always be yourself, because at the end of the day, you're kind of all you have, you know, like you're the person that you're with your own thoughts. You're the person you have to live with, and you have to be okay with the person you are. And so I always make decisions based on that. If I can go to bed happy, then I know I'm doing the right thing. If I know I need to start making changes in my life, then I'll adjust for that. So sorry, that was a long-winded rant on.
That's okay. You know, I think you said this earlier, and this sort of the bottom line here is that the people that are meant to be with you are going to be meant to be with you. The people who want to follow you are going to follow you, and the people who don't are not your ideal follower or customer or client or fan. And if you're good with that, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. There are people that are going to be haters, and you really don't want them around you anyway.
Well, going back to the young lady you were talking about, Gina, it sounds like she's not showing up as her best self because she wants to downplay her best self. And that includes being, you know, genetically, naturally just beautiful, or, you know, your perception of beautiful. And she's purposely downplaying that. So it's probably not benefiting her performance. It's probably actually hurting her performance because she probably doesn't feel as confident as she could be. I know, like for Paige too, you feel more comfortable being an introvert if you show up looking and feeling like your best self. You're dressed in something that makes you feel good. You have some makeup on if that makes you feel good. I know that if I go out into the world of business and I am, meeting a client and selling real estate, I want to make sure that I'm well put together and have some makeup on, not because I think that makes me look better. I just know it makes me feel more confident, that I know if I catch myself in the mirror, I look at myself and I'm like, hey, you got going on,
Yes.
And I think downplaying that will hinder performance overall, whether it be in golf performance, sales performance, or improv performance.
I've referenced this a couple times to Rachel and people close to me. I recently went through some surgeries, and that's kind of impacted me, and it's made it very challenging to put on a bra, by the way, because I have a broken wrist and it's healing right now. And my running joke right now is, Rachel Hollis has the book Girl Wash Your Face, and now my phrase is, girl, go put on a bra, because when you have a bra on, you just feel better. Like, I feel more productive when I have a bra on. So
that's a whole nother episode.
We may get to that episode, but that is my, the second I put it's a lot of work right now for me to get it on, but when I do, I am like, boom, it is happening. Keith, do you want to chime in? Because we have not let you speak at all. We can see you laughing at us or with us. We're not sure which one. But if, Keith, do you have anything you want to add? Because we're going to be wrapping this up.
One little quip of that's what Keith said.
Yeah, just one little Keith quip.
Yeah, I'm not as productive with a bra on.
That's what Keith said.
I love that. I love that it's different for everyone. It could be putting a bra on, it, putting makeup on. It could be wearing heels. Like, everyone has their one thing that makes them feel so good about themselves. And you should feel good about yourself. Like, you should look in the mirror and go, dang, I look really good today. That's not a bad thing. And we should never feel bad about that. And so, that's a huge thing. When you look in the mirror, no matter what you see, be like, dang, you're looking real good today. You look so good. Even if you're not feeling it that day, give yourself some props. You're your own best friend. And I think that's what I was trying to say. It doesn't matter. If you look in the mirror and you feel good, you're going to kill the day. You're going to be successful.
Oh, yeah.
You're just going to, be so much happier in life too. And so find that one thing that makes you feel good. I love when I'm wearing a tight fitting clothes. I like that because I think it shows off my shape. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling it today. Or it could be putting a bra on. It literally could be anything, but find that one thing that always makes you happy, makes you feel good about yourself, because you'll be way more successful that way.
And some women out there, they need that so badly. Women that are coming out of an abusive relationship, women that have come out of surviving breast cancer, women that are coming out of just coming back after having a baby. Sometimes it's as simple as suit up, show up, put your best self together, and just that's all you need to do to win the day, as you said. Sometimes that's really, really hard for women when we're coming back from something. And sometimes, especially, we've talked before on the show about new moms, and when you're a new mom, you're exhausted, you haven't had a shower in a few days. It's spectacular when you put yourself together and, like you said, you're like, I look good. You win. You're winning.
And sometimes it's, ooh, I smell good.
Or I don't smell bad.
Exactly. It could be anything. And again, it goes back to, you don't know what people are dealing with behind closed doors. So go up to anyone and be like, you smell great today, because that could be their thing. And they could be like, yes, I do smell good. Thank you. You don't know that. So never try to tear someone down. Just give everyone compliments. It makes it so much better.
And, in the world of business and selling, giving compliments is one of the best ways to create a connection, in my opinion, with someone that you're trying to build a relationship with. So compliments could be all you need to do to close a deal.
Definitely. 'Cause they're not handed out that often anymore.
Exactly. A quick question for you, Paige. When is it okay, in your opinion, for a man to compliment a woman on how good they look? I know that you've been pretty vocal when all the Harvey stuff was going down. I know you're vocal on Twitter and with the Me Too stuff going on. How can men do this? I think Keith would probably really love some tips on this. It's a shaky ground for guys today.
Yeah, this is a tough one, and I think it depends on the individual, but concerning me, I never get offended when a guy's like, you look really good today, you beautiful eyes, or even if they're like, your chest looks good. If maybe not in person, but I get that a lot on Instagram, and I'm like, thank you. I'm wearing this shirt for a reason. But for me, I never take it as a negative. There's definitely a line that needs to be crossed, that doesn't need to be crossed, but there's a line. And I think we all know where it is. I think it's different for other people. But for me, if a guy says, you look beautiful today, I take that as a compliment. I don't think they're being creepy. If a woman said that to me, I would be so happy about it. So why would it be different if a man says it to me or if a woman says it to me? If they say it in a very kind of nasty way or they comment on something, that's obviously the line. But I think guys can say, I think they can go out and give a compliment. Just don't catcall on the street, you're having a conversation, or that's probably the best way to do it, but don't just yell at someone from a ways away. But if a guy came up to me and said, you have really beautiful eyes, I would not be offended by that. I think it'd be really cute and sweet, and I don't mind it. But I do think it's very, very hard right now too. I've also never really been in that many bad situations where the line has been crossed. And so I know I personally am not as sensitive to it as some women who have been in situations that I can't even fathom. And so I know that they are a little bit more sensitive to it. But I think if you keep it compliment just more on the kind of kind, sweet side, or your hair looks really nice, or I really like your outfit, or you have a really nice smile, those I think are all very acceptable, great compliments that you could give to someone.
And why do you think some women would take offense to a compliment from a man? I know that when I first moved to the South from Chicago, I was dealing with construction of a place that I was taking over to run. And it's sort of interesting, the construction guys, when I would show up and I'd say, good morning, gentlemen, and they'd say, well, it is now. And then I'd have a guy come into my office and literally said to me, you look really good in that sweater. And I was so thrown off by it. But I was like, well, thank you. I thought I was sort of being punked a little bit, but I did enjoy the compliment, but some women don't. And why do you think some of them take offense to that?
It's hard for me to speak on their behalf because I'm the same way as you. I don't get offended by compliments from men. I don't really think much about it. But again, I think a lot of women have been through really horrible situations with guys where it might have just started off with a compliment and it just went downhill real fast. And I know a couple of my friends have been in some really, really scary situations, and they just have a red flag up when it comes to men. And I understand it. I understand it completely. I feel bad for a lot of guys that it's been ruined by a couple of really bad men out there. But I think guys just need to kind of feel out the situation. If a woman is giving you no time, don't go out of your way to give her a compliment. I think that's where I think some of the frustration comes from women, where we're like, we're not interested. And guys think that it's a challenge. And it's like, dude, it's not a challenge. Like, please stop talking to me. And I think they need to figure that out. And I think that's why some women maybe get offended, where it's like, I've literally told you, a couple times, please don't talk to me. And then they keep giving compliments. But I think if you really are perceptive to the situation, be like, okay, she's friendly, she's talking to me, I can give her a compliment. If she has her guard up, doesn't want to talk to me, I probably shouldn't give her a compliment. I think they just need to sense out the situation and don't take everything as a challenge, or like, oh, she's saying no, that means yes. Like, no means no. Like, don't proceed. And it's just, they need to realize that.
And I think to your point, I think what happens is that there are triggers. There are triggers where things have happened, bad things have happened to women or to anybody, and those triggers show up. And so when people are offended by something, again, it's like your any of your insecurities often come from something that happened to you in another time.
Yeah.
Well, and in the workplace too, like in the world of business, whether it be on, in the golf course or in a sales situation or in the boardroom, a man should be able to give a woman a compliment, a legitimate, like Paige said, your eyes are very beautiful. You look beautiful today. Like, that's fine. But if it's going in a direction of on a personal level, then that should be reserved for outside of the business. And then you say, hey, you are very beautiful. Are you interested in getting coffee or going out on a date? Then you could go into the other stuff that, if that's what's on their mind, right? But like, hey, you look nice today. That's appropriate for any situation. Yeah, your shoes are beautiful. Like, and people, that's where the Me Too thing comes from, is just because a beautiful woman is in the boardroom doesn't mean that she's there to go on a date with you or something further. It should be like outside of business. See if she's interested, as you said. If she's not interested, leave it alone. And that's where some men have given the rest of the men a bad name, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think it has to come from a genuine place. Like, if you're just being nice and giving a compliment, or are you giving a compliment to try to further your relationship with her? I think that's different as well. I mean, if you're just trying to be a good person, then it's like, okay, but if you keep complimenting me because you want to take me out, or if like I can tell that maybe you're just not, if we're friends and you're trying to like progress to another level, then that's when it's not okay for me personally. Like, if you're just being a good person and you're just trying to be nice that day, I will always take the compliment. But it's just reading those signs and knowing like, oh, this isn't a good time. This is a good time.
Paige, it has been so awesome having you on the show today with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I had a blast, and sorry if I was rambling too much, but we were talking about stuff that was really fun for me to talk about. So thank you so much for having just a great conversation today.
Yeah, you fit in great with us because we're the ramblers, the two of us. Keith, as Keith knows, because he hasn't. I think maybe Keith had too much on his hands with three of us today. So he kept pretty quiet. Keith, do you have anything you want to say before we wrap up?
I really enjoyed this. Paige, I really loved what you said about people are going to judge you regardless, and it's really how do you judge yourself. I think that's so critical. I love that message that you have.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That was a great compliment.
That was a really nice compliment.
There you go, Keith.
And you have beautiful eyes. Paige, how can our listeners reach out to you or learn more about you and the work that you're doing with bullying? What are some great ways to connect with you?
You can connect with me on all of my social media. It's Paige Renee on Instagram or Paige Spiranac on Twitter or Facebook. Cybersmile is the anti-bullying organization I'm ambassador of. They have a lot of really great information, a lot of people to talk to if you're ever struggling with cyberbullying or any other issues. So that's a really great one. But yeah, they can find me pretty much anywhere on social media.
Awesome. And we'll include links to that on our show notes page of this episode. We want to thank all of our warners for listening to this episode of Women Your Mother Warned You About today. Feel free to reach out to us. Tell us what you think and what you want to hear. And if you want to connect with me directly or learn more about Pivot 10 Results or Carolina Improv, you can visit GinaTramarco.com.
And to connect with me, Rachel Tipton, visit theclosingcurve.com or find me on social media as Rachel on Real Estate. And you can find all of our social media links and free downloads on our website at womenyourmotherwarnedyouabout.com. And Keith?
Well, if you want to find me, go to womenyourmotherwarnedyouabout.com and find the profile and get to my LinkedIn page.
Awesome. And everybody, please, if you haven't had a chance to give us a 5-star, only 5-star works is what we understand. If you haven't given us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, we would really appreciate you giving us one of those great ratings and reviews. And we'll read them here on the show and give you a shout out. And for the best relationships, keep it real, raw, and relevant.
And a little irreverence doesn't hurt either. Thanks again, Paige. Keep being beautiful and keep sending that positive message. We're so, so grateful for you to be here
thank
today.
you so much. Thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody. See ya.
This really will get serious soon.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. I don't think anybody wants it to be serious.
This has been a presentation of the Sell or Die Network. For more podcasts that you can take out into the street and turn into money, visit sellordienetwork.com.